Then we're going to record. We're talking about such good books that are coming out tomorrow that I have completely forgotten about.
Good books, even though we're getting ready for the fall when the avalanche happens, but there's still
avalanches.
But yeah, like we've been talking about all pretty much this whole year and into even starting last year, that the summer is not the desert of new releases like it used to be. And some really good stuff is coming out. But I was just complaining, like I do, about one of the tools that we have. This little behind the scenes for anybody that's with us now and cares. While I'm giving Facebook a minute to notify everybody's here. So Gabe, they don't miss you because you're the starting. So I'll fill that time until people start joining us, since you're starting us off. But there used to be a great tool, and now I don't really know how to easily get a list of what each publisher is publishing. And you could actually specify by month. You could actually do it by week, Tom. There was a thing that you could do it by week, and it was genius.
Yeah, it should be so easy. That should be something.
Yeah,
we want
just to sort. You figure it's just to sort.
It would. You would think that, right? Go to Analyze and try. Go and try to do it.
And you can do it within the catalog.
But I gotta go to each individual publisher's catalog and do it. And that's why I stopped doing it, because I would have to go to each of you. I used to be able to just select all of you, and I would get all of your releases. And it was one easy, simple little thing.
It's gonna get easier.
Surprise. What's out this week? Who knows? I get
to learn along with the rest of our audience what's coming out tomorrow, which I should be a little bit more in the know than that. But I guess not.
It is getting easier.
Surprise to me too.
It's gonna be the big four pretty soon. You just gotta look for 4 catalogs, and then Andrea's stuff.
You're right. And then you guys, and then but those 4 are we're talking about data sorting, Beth. In the back end world that we're doing. But never mind. Never mind. I just want to complain.
Let's just talk about
Kvetch.
Can't we?
Kvetch. That's me. Okay, so I think we're going with the order is going to be Gabe. Hold on. What happened to my computer there? It's going to be Gabe, Tom, Amanda, Andrea.
Okay.
So Gabe, take it.
As I can share the screen, I will be on. So the first order of business today is one of my favorite funny voices, Mia Mercado, who is an essayist, contributes all over the place, and is one of those writers who her humor and her keen eye make for a really fun read. So her first book we published a year ago called Weird But Normal. And primarily it was about identity and being, she's half Filipino. So what it was like to be her, and what it was like to, like you represent this stereotype, and then you sort of got to be the stereotype, but you don't want to be the stereotype, but then you got to represent without trying to be the stereotype. Anyway, it's complicated for her, and it's very funny, all her points of view. So this book, which was a Publishers Weekly summer read recommendation, is all about being the nice girl. And again, identity comes into play, of course, because, and particularly the last book dealt with her being Asian and the subservience of Asian women. Some of that comes back here, and what it's like to be polite, what it's like to be agreeable all the time. She covers a lot of different topics. So she goes from that to being the bad bitch. She goes on to talk about her dog, her pets. And it is all about the performance. And this is what's great about what she's writing, because she is writing about her identity particularly, but she's also writing about the universals of life. And basically it's sort of this, who we perform. Like our being is always like a bit of a performance at some level, because you're always either on your work face or you're hanging with your boys, you got your boys face on. So there's a lot of that, who you are, and then the code switching that occurs a lot in the cultures. So again, a lot of pondering about her identity, being American, being an Asian American, being Latino American, being an African American, you're pulled on by the cultures all the time, and you can be. One of our publishers at Harper San Francisco, who does our books in translation, Tara is half Asian, and somebody called her kid an egg. He's white on the outside but yellow on the inside. So it used to be like a coconut or whatever. So it's always about identity. It's always about who you are, and color plays a big part of it. But it goes beyond that, because at some point we're all the world's a stage kind of thing. So very smart, very, very funny. She's, Twitter stuff. She's one of those people who like bites back. You get on her and she's funny, and she can be really, really biting. So I love her. I'm glad that we did a second book with her, and it's out tomorrow. What day is it today? Yes, tomorrow.
I love that she considers herself a bad bitch. That's what I want to be. That's what well, maybe that's what I already am.
Want to be, yes.
That's exactly. Maybe I already am.
Done been.
Have been my whole life. But wait a minute, Gabe. The cover you showed didn't have her full name. So Mercado is her last name. What's her first name?
Mia.
Okay. Mia
Mia
Mercado.
Mercado.
Okay. Awesome.
Julie, you were just born too late, because you should have been cast as one of the gang members in West Side Story. You'd have been perfect.
What are we looking at? Oh, okay.
No, it's me again.
That would have been me for sure, Andrea. I would have been Rita Moreno in a heart fucking beat. Okay.
You know it.
You know it, baby. Although we had Jen Cisneros, or however you say her name. What's Tom, it's your book.
Which one?
Jen Cisneros. Oh, I'll think about it.
Oh, Sincero. Jen Sincero.
Sincero.
Yeah. Badass.
Badass. I'm a badass. Oh my God. I was there so we hosted her a couple times. And so some of the booksellers at the time said, Julie, you're a badass. And I'm like, you know what? I'm taking that. I will wear that, and I will own it. Thank you.
Exactly. Don't mess with Jules.
I know. All right. Tom, take it away.
Okay, so this is an important book. I warn you all, it's grim, especially where we live.
Oh,
California Burning. Subtitle is The Fall of Pacific Gas and Electric and What It Means for America's Power Grid. So it's by Catherine Blunt, who's the energy and utilities writer for the Wall Street Journal. She's been nominated for the Pulitzer Prize, and she's been covering PG&E, for several years now, several important years, as we have the worst fire in California history. Unfortunately, it's not in the past. I mean, this is a subject that every year, it seems, things are just going to get a little bit worse or a lot worse, some years better or worse than others. But this kind of disaster is going to continue. And so it's really a page turner. It's almost a thriller, because you're following, it's about a big business that has screwed the little guy, I guess. Basically, that sums it all up. Basically, PG&E was a company that went from being, a power company that was about supporting the power grid to a for-profit, after deregulation, a for-profit, and to make profits, maintaining power lines. It's not profitable to do all the things you need to do in order to save the state from burning. And as we saw, like in Texas, this is not just a California story. She's writing, she's focusing on California, but she's telling a bigger story of this country, about our infrastructure, how big business, how we get screwed by big business more often than not. So I think it's for the readers of Bad Blood by John Carreyrou, who also was a reporter for the Wall Street Journal. His was a very different kind of story. That was a con, basically, but a really important story with a fascinating, collection of characters. She takes you through the trial. She leaves you with a little bit of hope at the end, but only, as much as she can do, which is just a little bit. So on sale tomorrow, California Burning.
Well, yeah, that's a huge topic. I mean,
yes, Yes.
because like deregulation is, yeah. I mean, they did a thing on 60 Minutes last night. I think it was a rerun of the threat, the cybersecurity threat to our power grid,
Oh,
which
I
is
saw
not
that when it
really
first aired, yeah.
like not to your subject, but it's like basically you have the East and the West in Texas. It's who the power grids are. But yeah, my biggest thing is always follow the money. And I
Yeah.
say it, you follow the money, and it's just like,
Yeah, it's really true in this
it's
case.
usually not good.
Yeah. So I think it's going to get a lot of attention. It was excerpted in the great review in like the San Francisco. It's really Northern Cal. She's from Northern California, so there's a lot about Northern California. But
Right.
there's
Well,
an
they seem to be the culprit. PG&E seems to be a pretty bad culprit in this whole thing.
Yeah, a bad
You
actor.
know, so they seem to be the most egregious, or at least the most that at least are getting caught more.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah, right.
All right, Amanda, what you got?
All right. So first up, just for you. There we go.
Woo, woo. Can I say the title?
Please go ahead.
Did
Have
nobody
at
give a
it.
shit what happened to Carlotta?
Nobody.
Nobody. It's so good.
Nobody.
It's so good.
It's a great title. I mean, right when I heard that title, I was like, damn, that's a great title
It's a good book too.
for a book. Anyway, so here we go. It's a novel that we've got here. And it's about a transgendered woman, Carlotta Mercedes. I mean, what kind of cool name is that? Carlotta Mercedes, who transitioned shortly after being incarcerated in a men's prison. And after being incarcerated for 20 years, she gets out, and now she has to adjust to her life, not only on the outside, but, you know, interacting with people now as a trans woman. And it takes place over one weekend. So yeah, I mean, there you go. It's, you know, I think it's a great book talking about, you know, people, the trans experience, which is always really wonderful to hear. And, you know, that it's not necessarily, you know, especially coming out of a prison, there's a lot of transition that happens to begin with. And on top of that, the transformation is a whole nother element to it. Julie, of course, you love it. It is an indie next pick.
Oh, is it okay? Good.
Yeah. Yes, so it was selected for an indie next pick, which is great. I believe for September. It's on the September list.
Okay.
It's coming out obviously tomorrow. And so yeah, I mean that's what we got. It's fantastic. Julie, I know you were one of the ones that wrote a recommendation for it.
So good. And it's one of those books that you think, you know, do I want to read about this? Is it a little too, you know, oh good, Amanda, you put up the because I was going to talk about that. In the by the book in the New York Times, there was a great article on James Hannaham, who wrote one of my other favorite books, Delicious Foods. He's a fantastic writer. So he tackles subjects that you kind of like, you know, incarceration and in the, you know, all the things that are going on. It's brilliant. It's so good. He brings up things that you just are constantly going, oh, there's just so many obstacles put in front of people that you aren't really conscious of when you know what's happening out in society. It's fantastic. I just love this book so much. So yay, loved it. Okay, out tomorrow. Yay. Okay, Andrea.
Thank you. And Amanda, I apologize in advance for not putting this on the little collection that I sent you.
No worries. She's quick behind the scenes, so no worries on that.
But I realized that I wanted to talk about this, even though it officially pubs September 6th. You should know about it now, and it is available. There's no street date, so it's available and in the stores now. This is The Betrayed from Europa Editions, and the executive editor there, Michael Reynolds, says that this book is what would have happened if Nicholas Sparks wrote 100 Years of Solitude, or Midnight's Children. So I love that.
What?
Yeah. So I love that so much, and it's basically it's like a huge like epic story told during upheaval and chaos, as my notes say here, and it is wonderfully told, and it's just basically a story about two women who love the same man and what ensues because of that. And it's set in the Philippines, and it's a Philippines that we don't necessarily always get to read about. And I think it's gonna have I think it's gonna be like really well received. The early blurbs are great on it. And like, you know, a powerful mosaic of images, characters, etc. So and relationships. That's what Angelo Rodriguez Lacuesta says. So, you know, it's I just think this is going to do well. It's $28 hardcover, out next week, but you can get it now at your favorite indie store, Warwick's, and this is Europa Editions. I
Yeah,
love that.
that blurb.
I love that. Yeah,
That-
Nicholas Sparks.
I know,
What-
my head is
what
still
about
spinning from
Sparks
that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to wrap my head around it, but I trust Europa's editorial vision because
Me too.
it's brilliant, you know, but I
Because
don't know about that blur.
Michael is fantastic. So I mean, it's just one of those things where it's just like he's probably one of the smartest people in publishing, I think.
Yeah, he's amazingly well spoken too, just like
Right.
off the top of his head. So when he
Right.
says that at sales conference, you write it down.
Oh my God. Yeah.
That's a good one. I was at them pondering still pondering that.
Yeah,
one.
Beth Johnson even says her favorite blurb of all time. I think that's going to be a tough one to top, Beth. I truly do.
We've seen some blurbs in our time.
We've
and
seen
I
some
think
blurbs,
we've
but
just
putting Nicholas Sparks in with who was it? Gabriel
Garcia Marquez.
Marquez.
And
And our unfortunate recent stabbing victim,
Salman Rushdie.
Salman Rushdie, right.
yeah, Salman
So,
Rushdie, for
Putting
Midnight
Nicholas
Children.
Sparks, Marquez, and Rushdie in the same sentence.
Never
Rushdie
happened
and
before.
Marquez. Okay, I got that.
It's like that song from Sesame Street. One of these things is not like the other.
So true.
Just makes me more curious, more
I love
curious.
it. Curiouser.
Curious.
Okay, Gabe. Second choice.
Second choice, finally. It takes a while to come around. When you
Oh, did you get bored?
No, luckily there's good books.
I know. See, there are good
You
books.
think you're the only one, but then
But then you see what everybody else has, and it's
see
like,
what everybody
damn,
else has.
there's some good books out there.
There's too many good books out
I know.
there. And so this is another one by Catherine Musmechet, Lethal Tides. Now, you know, you think every single aspect of World War II has been covered, from the romancy novels to the historicals to the biographies. What else is there to know? Obviously, the Pacific War was primarily fought by the Navy, or I mean, the Navy was an integral part of it all. And I guess before World War II, there were a lot of things like tide readings and you know, trying to figure out where the waters are going to be. And there were a lot of amphibious landings in the war in the Pacific. So what happened was this woman named Mary Sears, who was basically a marine biologist, a very simple marine biologist, got involved with doing some research for the Navy. And that research was predicting tides and for the amphibious landing. So like the very first Tarawa, the Battle of Tarawa, I think it was, first amphibious landing, they were trying to capture the Marshalls before they got to the Marianas, or the Marianas before the Marshalls, whatever it was. So they needed to get a foothold in the Pacific. So there was this atoll there, and it was a complete disaster. It was like between the Koreans, the Japanese, and the Americans, something like 7,000 lives were lost in the day in that battle. And things were, you know, we couldn't get it right. The seas were rough, the tides were high, you couldn't get the ships in. The beaches weren't there that were there on a plane flyover weren't there when they got there because the tides had moved. So this woman basically steps in and like, step aside, I got this, and started, looking at the moon tides and all that stuff and the tides, and started providing really detailed information on the tides for these invasions. But she also got further involved with submarines and understanding the depths of the oceans and where there are formations where submarines could hide and sneak up on people from the back. Really interesting story. I'm a big fan of. I grew up reading World War II stuff as a kid because it only ended like 14 years before I was born. So it was really close.
Really close.
And the Pacific stuff is really interesting. It's a whole nother landscape from Europe and the Navy stories. But this woman paved the way for us to get to Okinawa, and the final battles of the Pacific were made possible because of Mary Sears, who just brought her science to the military and moved us forward. Cut years off the war problem.
Beth Johnson says it's the hidden figures of the water, which is true.
Which was our book, Two Hidden Figures, which was a really big surprise how well that.
But that's the thing. The Pacific Front just was like, it seems like it's two different wars, really.
Yeah.
In the Pacific, we don't think about quite as much. It's not, but
it didn't have the horrific nature that
didn't have the Nazis.
Didn't have the Nazis with their cool unis and stuff.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the Japanese definitely did their toll, but not to the extent that the Nazis were. Just anywho.
Moving right along.
Tom. What are you going to give us next?
I'm going to change the mood, but
you are like kind of a big way. It looks like.
Yeah, a big way. But I will take us back to 1962. So that is soon after the war. So, The Lost Ticket, paperback original, out tomorrow by Freya Sampson. So her last book was out a year ago. It was The Last Chance Library, which was a Good Morning America buzz pick. So this is a great end of summer kind of read. It's so it starts in 1962. It's about a man who he's riding the bus in London. He's young at that point, and he meets a woman on the bus, and they start talking. She's a painter. He aspires to be an actor. They have a conversation that in his mind changes his life. She encourages him to go follow his dream, become that actor. And they're supposed to meet again, but the lost ticket of the title, he loses the ticket where her number is written. So he spends the next 60 years riding the bus, hoping that he will see her again.
Love it.
And so now it's 60 years later, he's dealing with mental issues and not quite Alzheimer's, but starting to forget things. And then he meets a young woman who gets on the bus. So the bus is really this locus of all these kind of relationships. She's going through a very, she's young, but also a little bit lost. So these two lost people find each other, and they in a way, they're trying to solve the mystery of the lost ticket and the woman that left his life 60 years ago. So it's sweet, it's funny, tear jerking. It's a lot. It's a really good, like, as I say, late summer read. Now, in the realm of blurbs, let's go with this one. Allie Hazelwood, who I talked about last week.
Mm-hmm.
She says, Freya Sampson's writing is like a feel-good magical potion made of everything that's beautiful in life. This book is my happy place. So that tells you, The Lost Ticket. What it reminded me of very much is like the Authenticity Project that we published a few years ago. Okay. Another book about connections, different generations connecting. I also like that about the book, that there's an older person and a younger person connecting. So yeah, it's at least Allie Hazelwood's happy place.
Exactly. Sounds like a lot of other people's happy place. Beth Johnson is asking a question. Beth, we're going to get to that at the end, so we don't take up if people want to go. Her question though is, how is it determined to make a paperback original? Seems like she's saying more of those today. So let's tackle that question at the end, because it is kind of an interesting question. And Andrea, didn't you have a book recently about lost loves or something? Or am I thinking of something completely off?
I had one a couple of weeks ago.
Did you have one, Dave?
A couple of weeks ago.
Okay. Was it you? I knew somebody did. Okay. That sounded really intriguing too. So I kind of like that idea. I'll have to look back at our archives.
The Olaf Olafsson book.
That was it. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Good job, Gabe. Thank you. All right.
Sharp as a tack, baby.
Sharp as a
That
tack.
is very close to my reference from last week about Ole Olafsson and Never Say Pig. You know, the Icelandic AI guy or whatever, tech guy, like from the sailor family. Wow.
All right.
Woo.
All right. Amanda, rescue us.
I don't know if I can, but here we go. Here goes nothing. All right. So next up, I have for you the latest installment from Robert Galbraith, The Ink Black Heart. So once again, we are following Cameron and Robin on another thrilling case. This time there's been a murder in Highgate Cemetery, which is the location of the Ink Black Heart. And so now they've got to figure out, who's done it. As always, super fun. Really gonna keep you on the edge of your seat. Don't forget the CB Strike. The series is streaming on HBO. So that's always good to have. And there you go. I mean, this is obviously going to be a very exciting book coming out tomorrow. And so there you go. The Ink Black Heart, Robert Galbraith.
All right.
I love that. The TV show, I think, is really good.
What's the series called?
CB Strike.
Huh?
CB Strike.
Yeah, CB Strike. It's on the HBO Max or
HBO Max. Yeah.
It's pretty good. Their
You're
co-star is
gonna,
also really good. She's from a couple of things.
You're going to sell a lot of those because of the TV show for sure.
Yeah.
We did. Grove has sold a lot of The Old Man by Thomas Perry because of the show on FX, Hulu.
They make a difference. All those shows,
They do.
There's so many adaptations. I enjoy a lot of the adaptations myself, even if I haven't read the series. I watch a lot of. I watched The Lincoln Lawyer recently, The Last Kingdom. Never read them, but I loved that series.
I know. I love it. Yeah. It's just a totally different way of experiencing it.
Yeah.
Hey, Amanda Q in the background. I just tried to go look at Gabe's page on our Warwick's page because on Tea Time, we've got you guys listed on a page and it said my access was denied. So Gabe's stuff must be like, we got like a.
Wow, who knows what's on Gabe's page?
Who knows what's on Gabe? I was able to get to Amanda's, but I couldn't get to Gabe. So just an FYI there.
I'd be filled up.
You might
I need
be.
a bigger file.
Too many can't load.
Too many. Can't load it. I was denied. All right, Andrea.
I mean, Gabe basically definitely takes the, like the record for most appearances,
Oh, yeah.
for sure.
Yep. He might even have me beat because I think I've missed.
Yeah.
Pretty soon he'll be hosting Tea Time.
I know. But I missed like a few. So there you go. Okay, Andrea, what do you got?
I'm going to talk about The Wind Rises. This is the first book in a middle grade. I personally think that young adults would really like this too, but a middle grade series from Europa Editions. It's book one in the Alma series, and it's the story moves all over from Europe to Africa to the Caribbean. And this first installment tells this amazing story of family love, hope, perseverance, and ingenuity in the face of like incredible odds. It's set in 1786. And there's very few children's books that resonate on this level. It's pretty amazing. And it deals with slavery, pirates, as well as this great family tale of this family that's separated because of slavery. Oh, darn. Okay. I'm glad that these are starting to show up. I think that this is destined to be a classic. Many early readers feel the same way. It's already been out in Europe. This guy's French, he wrote it. And it's just getting these rave reviews. And I don't think that these incredible black and white illustrations throughout are going to hurt this book at all. It also sort of lends another layer of the feeling of a classic. And I want to read this. There's great quotes. We got a starred review, the Kirkus, for the Kirkus reviews. It got great reviews here and overseas. And the one I really like is from reading the West. The adventure and suspense of Treasure Island and the period attitudes of the master of Ballantrae provides the flavor of a classic tale, but neither Stevenson nor Scott ever gave us anything with the bite of this story of one of the vilest chapters of our history. Well, that is saying quite a lot when it basically, like, you know, when somebody says that like Stevenson like really didn't give us the true flavors of this period. So I can't say enough about this book, and I think it's going to do well. $18.99 hardcover, paper over boards, and this is one to look for. And it's I think there's a stack of about 5 or 6 at the store right now, and this is something to get all you know, get your grandkids or kids of that age. And I also think it's like you will be, as an adult, you'll be entranced by the story as well. It's just really great adventure writing.
The illustrations look amazing.
Yeah, it is. It's really kind of unbelievable. Like I said, it just like lends itself even more to the feeling of a classic because of those illustrations that they did a great job on. So
Yeah,
I really
mean,
like that embedded illustrations like that when they're heavily illustrated like that. It looks really great. Totally would have read this when I was a kid. I'm going to read it as an adult because it sounds great.
yeah,
That's-
exactly. I mean, I totally fell into it. I was like, oh, I mean, I felt like, you know, that kind of immersion that you had when you were a kid, like discovering these classic stories. I felt the same way about this one. So
love it. All right. We're doing way better than we did last week. We were a little too chatty last week talking Birkenstocks, I think, or something got us off topic for a long time. So we're good. We're doing good. So lightning round doesn't have to be too lightning, but still lightning. So Gabe, take it away.
You know, I'm going to lightening it up for you.
Light it up, baby.
This is the book that I am going to show you. Ugly Cute is the name of the book. That is the jacket. What is that? I don't know what it is, but it's something. It's awful cute.
It's an Axel something or other.
I think it is. It's like an AA or yeah.
It's like an AX something. Yes.
Let's see if it tells us here. Anyways, we've done a number of this. Otter book, Little Otter's Book of Wisdom. It's the same people who did the Sloth Book of Wisdom. This is a Kamamuta. There's an I. Looks like a Chihuahua, a sucker-footed bat. Not a fan of the bats. That's ugly, not cute. Blobfish. Lunch. Platypus. Boring. But look at that. Ooh. Anyways, that's what this is. It's $14.99. It's a great little gift. It's a little feel-good book. I do have I'll just show you something real quick and I'll be
I
off.
love that though. Didn't you have a book, or somebody had a book recently with that creepy little character?
Yeah,
Somebody
so there's
had-
a number of there's a hairless cat, the aquatic scrotum frog, the axolotl salamander.
Thank you for not showing the
yeah, that was
I think you just wanted to say that, okay? Just say
yeah, the
This little
axolotl.
animal, whatever this it's an axol something or other or whatever. It
Axolotl
actually,
salamander.
yes, the name derives from the Aztec people actually.
Yes, it does.
And I am fascinated with this little creature. And there have been several books about him because people don't believe he's real too. People think this is a made-up creature, and it's not.
I mean, maybe it was Andrew who had the book about it.
Yeah.
It was
It
not
was you.
I.
Okay. I thought
But-
somebody had. I've seen this guy before.
Yeah, because he's
Yeah.
adorable, and he's been in a lot of picture books. I have a picture book that I have from years ago with this little character. I think it's an adorable little.
I
He
love
does
that.
look imaginary though. Like it's hard
Right?
to-
People think
Yeah,
he's fake,
totally.
but he's not.
Yeah.
It's real.
Well, that's like all those things that are like deep down in the ocean, like way deep.
Yeah.
It's like there's some stuff down there that it's like, what the hell, man?
That's all you can say about some of
That's
that.
all you can say about some of it. It's
Some
like
you want to see and some you don't necessarily want to
one,
see.
it's just like, what is that and how is it on the planet? I mean, it's just, yeah. Anyways, all right.
I love nature.
And we
That's
all
a lot
evolved
of-
from the same cell. Yeah, okay. We're the part of us is that little thing. Okay, Tom, save me.
All right. So I don't get to talk about DK books very often, but here's one coming out tomorrow, banned books. And so DK is known for its visual, its visual book. So I wish I had the finished copy because I'm sure it's gorgeous. But it's a $17.99 hardcover, paper over board. And it's really the, banned books never go out of style, unfortunately. So it takes you back to Canterbury Tales, up to and then through Frankenstein, Madame Bovary, and you get to D.H. Lawrence and Joyce. They're all here, and then right up to the present, including Kite Runner, The Hate You Give, To Kill a Mockingbird, of course. So it's a visual history of the subject of banned books. So it's coming out tomorrow, and then in September is Banned Books Week, so it's just in time for that. So if you want a primer on that subject, which, like I say, sadly never goes out of style,
No.
and is more in style now than ever, here's the DK book, Banned Books.
Yeah. I mean, we've always had banned books, but it's always one of
Yeah.
those things where it's like, it just seems to be, and some people say, oh, well, they become more popular. It's like, it's still so dangerous. It's just
Yes.
like, it's just this super dangerous thing that we can't take lightly.
Right. I mean, the only thing that I find somewhat reassuring is that we've always done, human beings have always done this, and the books have survived. All
Yes.
these books are, have
Yeah.
survived. But it is disturbing.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
disturbing.
People that like burning witches and burning books are the same people.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And witches were just healers in
They were just women, Jules. They were just
were
women.
just women, man. They were
smart women.
female women that were smarter than the men.
Not about that. It was
Yeah.
medieval times.
Oh, we're going. We're going.
Wow.
Gotta watch what I say.
What
Right?
did that say about you? You raised one.
I love it.
Oh, wait.
And
And
also,
I am a
back-
reflection of you.
Well, I'll try and save this family argument. Back to your ugly creatures. Andrea, Amanda put your book in the chat there. So it's like something about being at the bottom. So it's really
Yes.
cute. Yeah. So
It's a cute book, and Amanda, I can send you a copy. I just need your address.
there you go. There you go.
Email me.
All right. Okay, Amanda, your lightning pick, my friend.
Yay. Okay. And my lightning pick, as usual, is a children's book. Super duper excited finally to get to talk about Belladonna. This book I have been waiting a year for to finally come out. Pretty much right from when I started at Hachette a year ago. This was the book that was all abuzz. Adeline Grace, she is local to San Diego. So she is your local author. I had the pleasure of selling in her other books, which were fabulous. So here we go. Belladonna is about a young girl, 19-year-old Signa, and she's been raised by a string of guardians who really are more interested in her money than really kind of what she does. But unfortunately, each one of them keeps meeting an untimely death. So that she's like, what's going on here? So she decides that she's gonna figure out what is causing all of these murders of her family members. So she aligns herself with Death himself to figure out what is going on, so that her family members stop getting knocked off, because no one wants that. So Adeline has an amazing ability to just craft a beautiful story, wonderful world building. You really get a sense of what's going on. They're a little dark, but not too dark, like just enough to give you a little bit of that spookiness in there. But I mean, come on, she's working with Death. How fun can that be to work with Death himself? So out tomorrow, finally, super duper excited. Belladonna by Adeline Grace.
Love it. And you said it's a young adult, correct?
Young adult, yes.
Young
This one's a
adult,
young
yeah.
adult title.
Although I guess a middle grade wouldn't be dealing with Belladonna and killing people off. Maybe, I don't know.
No.
It's a great cover. Love that.
Gorgeous cover.
Yeah, good.
Oh,
They
I
did
know,
good.
I
They
know.
did a good
All
package.
of her covers have been gorgeous, and I love her books. So
Yeah. Very good.
fabulous.
All right, Andrea, want to wrap it up for us?
I'm going to talk about PermaRed. This is a reissue of a book that came out 20 years ago that just got it had a lot of great reviews and attention during that time. It won like best book for Reading the West Spur Award, Western Writers of Reading the West Book Award, Western Writers of America Spur Award, the American Book Award. And this is by Deborah Magpie Erling, and it's a story set on around the Flathead Indian Reservation in Montana. And it's the story of it's a family story, but it centers around Louise, who is raised by her grandmother. She and her younger sister are raised by her grandmother, and it's like it covers the story, the not so flattering American history of boarding schools, the impacts of alcoholism and domestic abuse on Indian reservations. Basically this young woman, Louise, gets through all of this after the death of her mother. That's why she's being raised with her sister by her grandmother. And then there's like three men that are trying to interfere with her coming into her own. One of them, Baptiste, has loved her ever since they were children, but he's got some bad energy, and they are sort of like destructive lovers. They're just they should not be together really, but they are. And so a lot of drama ensues. It got a great review from Louise Erdrich. Part of it's up there. I can't even see what it says because of the weird type, but and then there's James Welsh, another amazing American Indian writer who wrote Fool's Crow, also gives it an amazing blurb. And the reason that this is out now after 20 years is that Milkweed Editions, who's publishing this, is going to publish in the spring her new novels in hardcover. And so this is just whetting everybody's appetite for this amazing writer. And the new package looks great. That's a great cover.
Yeah, it's
People
a
are
really
gonna
good cover.
There's a stack of this right now at Warwick's, and it's on sale. It was on sale last week.
Last week, yeah.
Yep.
Awesome.
I'm so happy to see that out, because she hasn't had a book since then, right?
No, she's had like a book in verse.
Yeah.
But nothing. She's been she's a professor, so she's been teaching.
So I sold that in hardcover 20, I guess if you say it was 20 years ago, it was 20 years ago.
Yeah. And so it's so nice because yeah, I mean, she's great, and it's just so nice to see her coming back with a new book. I'll be talking about it in the spring. But
I remember loving that book.
Yeah, her characters are very well drawn, as James Welsh says in that blurb that I had in my notes. But she's great, and it's nice to see that Milkweed is adding to their Native American literature collection. They're becoming known for supporting that community's literary writing.
Awesome.
And couldn't happen at a more timely point in like our culture, I think. So it's nice to see that more Native voices are coming to the fore.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. As I talked about, didn't nobody give a shit about Carlotta a few months ago because I had read it. I'm gonna talk about, oh, wait a minute. I got phones coming in at me. All right. And we're talking about one that's coming out in a couple. Actually, we're talking to two that are coming out in a couple months, just to whet your appetite a little bit. You can always pre-order them if you'd like. But because it was, we run into these deadlines for Edelweiss to try to get those wonderful blurbs like Michael's got. Mine don't come anywhere near that.
Yay.
But I just finished this weekend. It's so good. And Gabe, I think Deborah was a really early
was.
evangelist
She loved
for
it.
this.
Yeah, she loved this book. It's got everything. It's a great book.
It's so good. It's set in the set in Ireland. Oh my God, early 70s ish. Oh man, it's just got, like you said, babe, it's just got everything. And so,
I love that cover because you can almost smell that bar, that pub. You can smell it. You know what it looks like. You know that you can see the dirt.
Oh, all
and
of
that
it
comes through in the
and the title, Trespasses. So it's, I mean, I'm not going to get into what it's about because you all do a way better job of explaining what these books are about when it comes time. But just take my word for it. The writing, she's a debut author, which is incredible, which are debut novel. Although I went and saw her Instagram thing, and it's something about how ending up in life is like living in a cul-de-sac. And I love that phrase because it's like pretty much what a lot of things are, just living in a cul-de-sac.
Yeah.
But it's the writing is spectacular. What's that?
Who publishes it?
Riverhead.
It's my favorite. I would say that's my favorite novel of the year. It's my favorite.
I think it's going to be
all different levels.
I've got a couple. It's for sure top 5. As it sinks in my head, it might bubble up more than that, but it's just got everything. And the title just means so much once you kind of realize what her role is.
It's a sophisticated novel for a first novel. There's a lot going on there.
Yeah. Really sophisticated novel. The other one that I'm just pages away from finishing. It's called The Magic Kingdom.
Ooh, Russell
Banks.
From formerly at Echo for decades. Formerly
in Echo. This is a Knopf now. Formerly Echo. But but here's the deal with him. Go back and read the Echo stuff. He's such a good writer.
So this one, that cover is so intriguing.
So it's called The Magic Kingdom.
It's about Disney World.
So it takes place. So really it's more Americana, and it goes back to the early 1900s about the swampland in Florida that the Shakers live on. And so it's this guy's story and how he kind of came to, it's kind of metafiction too. So you don't know who the author really is. It's really good, but it's he's so good. So it's that time period in the early 1900s, but then he acquires all of this land somehow. He kind of reveals in the story and sells it to Disney.
Wow.
So the Magic Kingdom. So there was the Magic Kingdom that the Shakers lived in that called it their Magic Kingdom because of what they did there. And then Disney comes, and so the Disney aspect of it isn't as much as I thought it was going to be, but it's okay because it's the whole rest of the story is fantastic. So I went a little bit longer than I wanted to, and I want to get to Beth's question, which Tom, maybe you, since you had the paperback original. Okay, wait. Beth's asking about great topic for end of year, your all-time favorite books. Yeah, we did that last year, so we'll do that again. We'll do a favorite of the years because as the end of the year comes, new releases kind of start dying out. So we'll do another favorite of the year for sure. And Gabe, I love your lighting right now. You're just like in this like really cool,
very atmospheric.
I gotta kill my shit.
You got a cigar somewhere. You got a good drink in your hand.
Yeah, right.
I just thought my screen looked really weird and dirty there.
So Tom, since you had the paperback original, Beth's question was, we're seeing more of that, and her question is why?
Well, I wish I had a good answer for that. Maybe someone else will. Like a lot of things in publishing, it has to do with gut instinct and what you think will be the best format so that you can get, like, in some cases, get an author started so that you can move them to hardcover. It just probably depends on how much the publisher paid for the book. That's partly how they're going to earn back. But I don't sense a real clear answer And
Yeah.
there's plenty of times when we're talking about a book in hardcover. Doesn't happen that often, but we'll say, this would be better, like in sales conference, we'll say, this would be better in paper. And then sometimes they turn it into a paperback right then and there. So
Yeah.
it's hard to say.
Is that the Jonathan Carper or the Marcus Stoll answer?
It's a little bit of both. It's magic, it's instinct, it's, you know, it's
It's
publishing.
publishing. You know, it's weird. I'll tell you a weird story. So we published Christina Baker Klein.
Right.
And we published her first book, and I read it. I go, she's a pretty good writer. We sold 4,000 copies. Read the next one. I thought, she's a good writer. I'll read her next one. We sold like 3,200 copies, or not a lot, you know. And then she did like 3 or 4 books, and none of them caught fire, you know. And then we did Orphan Train as a paperback original, and I'm like, what do you got to lose? And it sold like 2 million copies.
I was just gonna say, yeah.
As a paperback original. So it is weird.
But it's probably more that's just evidence that it's the book. A lot of times it's the book, not the format.
Well,
Right.
yes and no, but sometimes, like for that, for example, I mean, there's no question that book clubs gravitate towards a paperback
Yeah.
in a format. That's kind of
Yeah.
their go-to format. And
And
her
it
book,
doesn't just- oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, go ahead, Andrew.
Well, it depends on the size of the publisher too, and what they can bring to the mix. Like, you know, like a lot of the publishers that I deal with are very small, obviously, and a paperback original like makes the difference between them being able to like publish and put enough publicity and marketing into it, right?
Right.
Whereas if they were worried about production of a hardcover, they
It's where they
so
spend their
there is
dollars.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is that, but then and then there was a time in the industry when in the early aughts when ebooks were a huge factor, right? Everybody was buying stuff for their Kindle. And at one point people were truly thought that ebooks were going to be 70%, 78 to 80% of new fiction or, you know, new book sales. And so a lot of people at that point were like, well, we're going to put stuff in like trade paper. If everybody's going to be buying these new books in e-format, we're going to do, we'll do that to save on our overhead, right? Especially the smaller publishers. And then there was a lot of people that just didn't want to pay the money for a hardcover during that period. I remember hearing that from a lot of people, and things have changed drastically. And it's like, it's hard to believe that like all of these, industry, like talking heads basically were really truly thought that that was the way that this was going to go.
So
And pan out happily.
That's where the numbers were going.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Yeah.
remember we were supposed to be, ebooks were supposed to be like predicted to be 2-3% at a certain point in time. And they were already like 8%. And, so they moved really fast, and then
Yep.
it topped
And
out.
then it
and
was- yeah.
Well,
then it
and
dropped out.
also, I think it's still true. It's not as true as it once was, but if your book's going to be review driven, if you're going to wait for those reviewers, often did not review paperbacks,
Correct.
only hardcovers. I think that's changed a lot, but it's still somewhat true, I think.
Yeah. And I think that back to your thing, Dave, though, it's reaching the audience that for Susan Meisner is a perfect example, Tom, of your author.
Yeah.
She
Right.
was paperback original. Then her sales were just like such that it's like, you know what? And truthfully, the whole thing, I mean, it is economic driven, but the authors make more money if it's in hardcover.
Right.
Just a
And
very
the-
simple fact of that.
And I
But
think the
you-
goal is to get it in, you might do the paperbacks to build the audience, but ultimately you're gonna if you're successful, then you're gonna do a hardcover.
But the reality in our business, and we have imprints that just do paperback originals, and the idea is that paperback original is going to go into a Target or a Barnes and Noble or
Right.
a Walmart in 20,000 copies or 30,000 copies nationally. So a lot of that is books, kind of like Target Book Club driven,
Right.
and the Walmart and the big chain stores like that. A lot of those World War II things, and
Right.
that
Well,
kind
and
of
even
stuff.
to Tom's book, who went to summer read, it says that you're not probably going to have a big audience for a $28 or $30 hardcover.
Right.
Right.
That
Right.
audience is a $17, audience.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then, but there are authors, Emily Henry is an example, who is maybe our biggest best-selling writer right now.
Mhm.
She's about to move into hardcover.
Right.
Even
Right.
though those books seem like traditional trade paperback.
But she's created such a buzz around her
Yeah.
that everybody
Yeah.
will be feverishly trying to get that no matter what the cost is.
Exactly. Yeah.
So the cost barrier goes away in that
Right.
kind of a situation. So
Right. Her agent's like,
everybody's like,
Right, because she's got what, 3? Is it 3 that she has right now on paper?
Yeah, 3,
Yeah.
right.
That
And
are,
you,
like,
and I think
selling
but
like
I do
crazy.
think it's as much instinct as anything else as to when is the right
when?
time.
When?
it's
And I think
all
now's the time.
magic. It's all
Exactly.
magic.
I
Going
read one
back
of them
to-
and I
yes.
thoroughly enjoyed it. They're great books. I enjoyed it. I had fun.
Going back to Jonathan and Marcus, it's magic.
Just don't ask for business. Don't look for a business answer. Look for a feel, like a feel.
It's
It's
magic.
a vibe.
It's a vibe. It's a vibe. I love it. It's all good. It's
It's
no,
like
it truly, and honestly though, to be honest, it's just like if anybody had the right answer for this and knew how to make a bestseller, everybody would be doing it. So
Right.
I mean, I make kind of a joke, but truly there is a little bit of magic to this.
There
I
is.
agree.
There is.
And I've been doing this long enough to know if the readers of the country don't want a book, they don't want it at any price. It doesn't
Correct.
matter if it's a low
That's
price.
exactly right.
Correct.
And
And
if
you
they want
can't,
it,
and you
they'll
can't predict
pay-
and you cannot predict what they want. You
Yes.
really
You can't. You
And no
can't.
matter how pretty the cover is.
Yeah, no matter how pretty the
Exactly.
cover is,
Yeah.
no matter how well written it is, no matter
That's
there's
why
so
we
many
love
things.
this business.
Because it's a surprise. Sometimes you're like, wow, that one? Okay.
Yeah.
Seriously, sometimes I mean the tattooist of Auschwitz. I mean, we
Another
printed
perfect
that
example.
as a paperback. I went into Romans, and they had passed that galley, that really cheap looking galley, around like 6 people,
Right.
for that paperback original. And
Yeah.
we sold like 350,000 copies. I don't
Okay.
even know, man. How
Yeah.
that thing sold. And we were like,
Yeah.
but now we have it like one every season.
Yeah. All right, everybody. We will took us into an hour. Sorry.
Ouch.
Ouch. But we'll see you. Great.
Stop
another
asking
great-
us questions then.
No, quit asking. No, I like our audience questions. They're
Oh
good
no, I do
questions.
too. But it's just time.
It's fine.
Hey,
So,
listen,
talk.
it's like alchemy. It's part science and it's part art. It's a
That's
fine
right.
melding therein, right?
back to those
Yeah.
witches, Gabe. Back to
It's a good
birth.
it's a good business. It's a good, if you've ever bought, it's a good business. It really,
really
is.
is.
You just
Yeah.
have a feeling for it. And sometimes you read a book and you don't know who the audience is, maybe, but it stays with you, and
Yep.
and you talk about it and you get excited about it because it's different or whatever. And
Yeah.
And hey, that's a great thing about the business. I've read stuff that I am not the market for this book. And I
Right.
read it because it's part of my job. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I'm 150 pages in and I can't put it down.
Exactly. Exactly. Kind of like
It's a
don't
great-
give a shit about what happened to Carlotta
Carlotta or Julie.
or Julie. I'm the badass. No, bad bitch. Bad bitch. Anyways, we'll leave on that note.
Yes.
See everybody
everyone.
next week.
Next week.
Bye.